In January 2016, Memphis, Tennessee police are investigating a shooting in an apartment parking lot, which first claimed the life of 30-year-old Eddie Tate Jr., then his girlfriend, 33-year-old Edwina Thomas, and their unborn baby.
Meaning that law enforcement, they're no longer dealing with a homicide or a double homicide. Now they're dealing with a triple homicide.
The victims' loved ones are desperate for answers.
You get on social media, like everybody's making up stories, everybody's creating their own narrative.
The shooting happened when Eddie was supposed to be meeting a customer for his mobile hair business, Virgin Hair for Us.
This case revolved around the sale or a transaction involving hair or hair weave. And some people may look at it as if, well, this is trivial, this is minor, but not necessarily for the Black community. Hair is your crown. And the one thing you can control is your crown. So this is a cultural thing among many Black Americans. The hair business among the Black community is an $8 billion business every year.
In the hours after the shooting, detectives trace a vehicle seen fleeing the crime scene to 18-year-old high school student Victoria C. They question her at the station.
When Victoria is interviewed, she names Shelby Isaac.
She says that Shelby, her high school classmate, bought 3 bundles of hair from Eddie earlier that day, but was unhappy with her purchase and wanted a refund.
We asked her, was she discussing robbing him, since she said she wanted her money back, and the initial statement was no. She never straight out said that it was going to be a robbery, but that she was going to get her money back.
Victoria tells police she drove Shelby to meet Eddie at Sycamore Lake Apartments for the second time that day.
As they approach the parking lot, Victoria drops off her friend Shelby to go handle the transaction while she goes and finds a parking spot.
Victoria claims she heard gunshots and then saw Shelby holding a gun.
And she hops in the vehicle, drives off without her friend.
So Victoria says she does not know where Shelby went. She pulls out of the complex and she's calling her on the phone. They meet up several minutes later. They talk. According to Victoria, Shelby says that she shot the hairman, and the lady said that she was pregnant.
Victoria claims that after the incident, she and Shelby hung out with their friend Darian Melvin. Then they dropped Shelby off with another friend, Gary Dotson. When Victoria finishes her story, investigators aren't sure what to believe.
We didn't know if she was lying. We didn't know if she was trying to blame someone else. So we had to verify that the information that she was telling us was in fact correct.
There is one detail from Victoria's story that makes them think she might be telling at least part of the truth.
There's no way that either Shelby or Victoria could have known that Edwina Thomas was pregnant. She was only 6 or 7 weeks pregnant. I just don't think that they would have been able to get that information any other way. That was very important to the investigation.
Victoria is arrested and charged with accessory after the fact.
She received a $10,000 bond and was out of jail after making that statement.
Investigators take a closer look at 18-year-old Shelby Isaac. Like Victoria, Shelby appears to be an unlikely murder suspect.
She was a high school student who did very well. She was a smart girl. She had applied to colleges and had been accepted to 3 different colleges. She was looking forward to going to college and finishing her degree and moving on to a career.
People will say, how can an honor student commit such a heinous act? But people live double lives all the time. While she's in school, there's supervision. When she's not in school, she can be a completely different person because there's a lack of structure.
Determined to get to the truth, investigators seek Shelby out for questioning.
We went to family members' houses. We went to her residence. Anything that she had ever listed as an associate, we went to all these different places, but we didn't have any luck finding her.
Investigators are able to locate 18-year-old Darian Melvin, the young man Victoria told them she and Shelby hung out with following the shooting. Darian confirms he went for a ride with Shelby and Victoria, and both of them seemed on edge.
He said the car was very tense, but they all normally joked around, so he was joking around. And I think he actually made a joke about Shelby's hair, to which she responded some version of like, "Shut up or I'm gonna shoot you."
Darian also confirms that they dropped Shelby at the apartment of another friend, Gary Dotson.
Gary Dotson was Victoria C.'s boyfriend. His brother, I believe, was Shelby's boyfriend.
But when investigators attempt to locate Gary, turns out he's laying low.
Gary Dotson, there were multiple attempts to find him, and sometimes, witnesses just don't want to be found.
2 days after the shooting, Shelby Isaac's attorney brings Shelby into the station.
And her attorney states, they're not going to give a statement at this time.
That is not any indication of guilt. Something that you said could be twisted to make it look as though you were guilty. That is admissible in court. So there is no benefit that you can receive from speaking to a detective in a situation like this.
That's certainly people's right. They don't have to talk with us. That just makes the job that I have to do even more important.
Before Shelby leaves, she makes an unusual move for someone facing multiple homicide charges.
She was caught actually taking a selfie inside that particular interview room. We were not happy. We were not happy with that. I really thought she wasn't really worried about this, didn't think it was a big deal.
While investigators still believe that Shelby was involved in some way, they face the fact that for now, the teen will walk free.
There was not an arrest made for Shelby Isaac. We had to verify that the information Victoria is telling us was correct. We had to corroborate that at a minimum, they were either together, another witness saw Shelby on the scene. We had to put them together some kind of way. And at the very beginning, we were not able to do that.
She's not going to give a statement, and that's when they released her without charge.
Was I happy about her walking out that door? Absolutely not. They still hadn't determined, again, who's our shooter, who's our driver. Are we 100% sure we got this right before we put murder charges on people?
Sides of Eddie Tate Jr., Edwina Thomas, and their unborn child. Investigators have released suspect Shelby Isaac due to a lack of evidence. Her alleged getaway driver, Victoria C., remains out on bail. Determined to get to the truth, investigators keep tabs on Shelby by watching her social media accounts.
She was very active on social media, very active on Facebook, Snapchat, different things like that. It seemed a little strange to us of some of the quotes that she made right after she's been accused of committing a triple homicide. There was a lot of posts that she did that just kind of led us to believe that she thought that this is just an inconvenience for her and then she's going to go back to living her life.
Investigators subpoena Eddie Tate's phone records from the date of the shooting.
We noticed that there were 8 calls that day from a number, and that number was the last number to call him before, unfortunately, he lost his life. We had an investigator take this number and run it, so to speak, and see what we could find to connect it.
The phone number leads investigators to a familiar name: Shelby Isaac.
They were able to tie it back to a number that, like, we knew that she used. It went back to her family member's account, but it was a number that was commonly associated with Shelby and being Shelby's phone number.
The records place Shelby in contact with Eddie, but do not prove she is a killer.
This was not the first time that Shelby had purchased hair from Mr. Tate. This was not the first time that she had spoken to or met with him.
Detectives continue their hunt for evidence. They obtain security footage from a resident at the apartment complex where the shooting took place.
We did not have any video of the actual shooting. A witness came forward who, ironically, was in his apartment complex setting up a security system. It's audio and videoed. It's time-stamped.
Although you can't see, because it's the interior of his apartment, you can't see out and see the murder. What you can do is hear the gunshots. This is loud, it's gruesome, it's mean, and it's evil.
The recording allows detectives to make an important connection. The last of the 8 calls that Shelby made to Eddie came just moments before the shots rang out.
The timestamp is, exactly the time. So we were able to verify and use that timestamp information to match up with the phone records.
Together, the recording and the phone records further prove Shelby was in contact with Eddie just moments before he lost his life. But it still doesn't prove who pulled the trigger. In the hopes to gather more evidence, authorities processed Victoria C's silver Mitsubishi.
I did a search warrant on that vehicle. There was a sweatshirt that was found. That sweatshirt was examined at that time, and it showed to have a red substance on it, which tested positive for human blood. There was a DNA swab taken of that shirt, and then the shirt itself was tagged in the property room, and it was later sent to the TBI lab for DNA testing.
On February 2nd, investigators re-interview Victoria C.
The police called her back, confronted her with some of the evidence that we had, and she gave a second statement to police.
This time, Victoria adds a significant new detail to her story.
She said that when Shelby got in the vehicle, when she picked her up in front of the apartment complex, she had blood on her hands. During the first interview with Victoria, she never mentioned Shelby Isaac having any type of blood on her hands when she got in the vehicle. She said that when Shelby got in the vehicle and reached to either move her purse or retrieve her purse, and possibly got on the shirt that way.
Investigators now feel they have enough evidence to arrest Shelby Isaac.
We were ultimately able to, put the pieces together, and there was an arrest warrant issued.
On February the 5th, Shelby came and turned herself in, but said, "I don't have any information for you." My advice in almost every case is for my clients not to give a statement.
Shelby is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. Detectives share the news with the victims' families.
They just told us she was a young lady who was disgruntled about a purchase she made, and she wanted her money back.
I was angry. I was pissed. How could somebody, you're in high school, what are you doing? Over some hair?
Memphis police have charged 18-year-old Shelby Isaac with murdering Eddie Tate Jr., Edwina Thomas, and their unborn child.
Once Shelby Isaac became the focus of police investigations, her family hired 2 expensive, high-profile attorneys.
Facing 3 charges of first-degree murder, Shelby is held without bond.
What we did is we began preparing for the preliminary hearing. At this point, we knew that Victoria C. was the primary source of evidence against Shelby.
Detectives know Shelby's attorneys will attempt to discredit Victoria's statement. A part of that statement is that Victoria claimed Shelby had blood on her hands when she got in the car.
One thing that corroborated what Victoria told us was what was found in her car was a jacket that had blood on it.
Investigators learned that the DNA results from the bloody sweatshirt are back.
The sweatshirt DNA was a mixture of at least 2 people, and the major portion of the mixture, which is the person that was contributing more DNA to that mixture, matched Eddie Tate.
What that tells us is whoever you think did it, they were in the car with Eddie's blood on them in Victoria's car shortly after this happened.
But there's a problem with the second minor portion of the mixture on the shirt.
For the minor contributor profile of the DNA mixture that I obtained, there was not enough DNA information there for me to do any kind of comparison. The minor DNA profile was inconclusive. I was not able to do a comparison to Victoria Say or Shelby Isaac.
That does not mean that they're completely innocent. It just simply means that you can't tie them to the crime using DNA.
Still in need of more evidence placing Shelby at the scene, investigators combed through the case file.
I went back over my witness statements. I went back over my crime scene photos. The witnesses on the scene, they see someone in multicolored leggings go inside the victim's vehicle. When Edwina Thomas, when her clothing is recovered from the hospital, she has gray pants. When Victoria is arrested, she has black pants on, and the witnesses described her having black pants.
Authorities believe Shelby was the woman in the multicolored leggings.
So I'm theorizing that Shelby went inside the vehicle after the shooting. I go back to Eddie Tate's vehicle. There's papers on the front passenger seat. These papers are still there from when the car was processed. It's in a secured lot. It's our impound lot.
There was stuff in the floorboard of the car, and also the glove compartment was open.
I retrieved those papers. There's several bank receipts. There's a couple of envelopes and a couple of, debit cards.
The detective, being a good detective, he gathered up everything and said, let's check this.
They send the items to the Memphis Police Department's latent fingerprint examiner.
We have this system now that we call AFIS. And what it is, it's an automated fingerprint identification system, and it electronically encodes and records and retains fingerprints.
The examiner compares the fingerprint on the bank receipt found in Eddie's car to those of Shelby Isaac.
I saw that Miss Isaac had loop patterns in her hands, so I just began to compare the loops on her hand to the loops on the receipt until I found the correct finger, which was her number 3 finger or the middle finger, to make the positive identification. The importance is that it simply put Miss Isaac at the scene. There was no denying that she was at the scene.
If Shelby was the woman in the leggings seen rummaging through Eddie's vehicle, that could help prosecutors prove a potential motive.
Police think after the shooting, she's rummaging for money to get back what she thought was rightfully hers.
I believe that Shelby was very angry that Eddie wasn't budging. He was not going to give her money back. He was not going to refund her $250. He was not going to do that.
Maybe for Shelby, this was her retribution. This was payback.
On March 8, 2016, nearly 6 weeks after the shooting, the families of Eddie Tate Jr. and Edwina Thomas attend an arraignment hearing for Shelby Isaac, hoping to witness justice firsthand.
Her attorneys asked for the evidence to be presented to a judge instead of a grand jury.
But the hearing takes a shocking turn.
At the end of the preliminary hearing, the judge determined that the state had not met the burden of proof, which is a very low burden of proof in general sessions. And the judge at that point dismissed the case entirely.
The judge didn't want to try this case. The judge said there was not enough evidence to try it. So at that moment in time, Shelby was able to walk free.
I fell to my knees and I said, no, that's not it. No, she's not killing my baby and get away with murder. I want justice for my child.
On March 8, 2016, a judge dismisses the case against Shelby Isaac. The 18-year-old suspected of fatally shooting Eddie Tate Jr., Edwina Thomas, and their unborn child. Shelby could be released in a matter of hours.
It kind of deflated me because it was like, yeah, you made the arrest, thank you. But now, this is the hard part of us, just kind of accepting what happened, going through the court process, and then to put your trust in the justice system, and then you feel like it failed because it was thrown out.
You all told me that this girl would look at 50 years to life, and now she walking free? She killed my child like he was a dog and left him laying in the street?
The family didn't want to let it go. The state didn't want to let it go. They truly believed they had the right person.
But the arraignment judge declining to send the case to trial does not mean it's over.
That does not bar the prosecution from still seeking an indictment. And actually, the prosecutor immediately took Shelby's case up to a grand jury.
I knew that the grand jury was going to convene that afternoon, and so I prepared an indictment. Grand jury looked at it and found there was a true bill. An indictment merely means that there's enough evidence to go to trial.
Well, I got a phone call. It was telling me Miss Tate is taken care of.
The news is a complete turnaround for Shelby Isaac and her family.
Her parents, her mother, her siblings was there at the entrance waiting for her to come out. And the officer put the handcuff back on her and said she failed. She fell to her knees and said she started crying.
Obviously, there was a roller coaster ride. It was dismissed. And then to turn around and have that indictment come down the same day, which normally the indictment process in Shelby County takes months. And for that to happen so quickly, it was jarring.
The defendant was not released, so she stayed in jail from that day on.
For the next year, both sides prepare for a complicated trial.
For you to have a crime and charges to stick, you need to have what we call mens rea and actus rea. That means we need a guilty mind and a guilty act. So with this first-degree murder, you have to prove that it was premeditated.
We have no witnesses, no smoking gun, who saw the shots being fired. We had a defendant who's really left no traces except for her fingerprints on a receipt.
I can't stress enough how circumstantial this case was, but collectively, it was always our theory that when you look at it together, it's very clear what happened.
In November 2017, the trial begins. There is one name conspicuously missing from the witness list: Shelby Isaac.
She did not testify. She looked like a schoolgirl. I mean, she was very young, but she had glasses on. She had like a little polo sweater. And I mean, you look and you think, wow, this person charged with murder?
The only message from Shelby comes in the form of her plea: not guilty.
The atmosphere in the courtroom was very tense from both sides. You feel the weight of it, and that's what adds to, honestly, the gravity of the situation and the importance of the situation. But both sides had a ton of support, and it was standing room only for a while.
Prosecutors hit the ground running, calling a surprise witness to the stand, Gary Dotson. Located just 2 days before the trial, Gary testifies that Victoria dropped Shelby off at his house on the afternoon of January 22, 2016, just hours after the shootings.
Shelby and Victoria show up where Gary's staying. Victoria leaves in the silver Mitsubishi. Shelby stays there.
Mr. Dotson testified that when she came in, she looked tired. That was his word. And that she had a wad of money just balled up.
Prosecutors suggest that the money could have been proceeds from Eddie's sales that day, money Shelby stole from him after the shooting.
The state's theory was she just wanted her money back. We thought that she set up this second meeting to take care and to get whatever money Eddie had.
According to Gary, Shelby wanted to take a nap.
She went to the restroom, then went to his bedroom where she laid down what he described as a 9mm Ruger pistol.
What Gary says next delivers a serious blow to Shelby's defense.
He went through the magazine with the ammunition and saw that rounds had been fired.
He said that he noticed that the magazine was not full, that it only had 3 or 4 rounds in it. So it had been shot a few times at least.
Even so, Gary Dotson kept his observations to himself, until now.
He didn't say anything to Shelby. He did not call authorities. Street code.
Neither Gary nor prosecutors know what happened to the gun.
It could be anywhere. It could be in the Mississippi River, it could be in a dumpster somewhere, but it was never located.
Shelby's team of high-powered defense attorneys take aim at Gary, leveling an accusation that no one sees coming.
The defense tried to imply that Gary Dotson was somehow involved in this situation.
The biggest thing that I kept on coming back to was all of the witnesses that were in this apartment complex. Windows around the center parking lot area that looked out as soon as they heard shots. 2 other witnesses described seeing a man on the scene.
In November 2017, the murder trial of Shelby Isaac is underway in Memphis, Tennessee. Prosecutors have called Shelby's friend, Gary Dotson, to the stand.
Gary told me everything that he saw. He witnessed Shelby with the gun. He witnessed her with a wad of cash.
Having carefully combed through the multiple witness statements from the day of the murder, Shelby's defense hones in on a previously ignored detail.
2 other witnesses described a man there with Victoria. That was the one thing that I kept on coming back to.
If a man was there, could it have been Gary? The defense argues another important detail.
Gary had several things in this case that could have implicated him. There was a black sweatshirt that Victoria identified as being Gary Dotson's sweatshirt that was covered in Eddie Tate's blood.
Prosecutors counter by arguing no one can prove the bloody sweatshirt was Gary's. They also call a forensic expert who suggests a connection between the 9mm Gary saw in Shelby's possession and the 6 shell casings collected from the crime scene.
A ballistics expert examined and testified that the bullets and the evidence all point to that these rounds came from a Ruger handgun, the very same type of weapon that Gary Dotson said that he saw belonged to Shelby Isaacs.
But that gun was never found, never tested, most certainly never located in Shelby's belongings.
Darian Melvin, the friend that was with Victoria and Shelby on the afternoon of the murder, also takes the stand. In addition to experts who testify about Shelby's fingerprints and phone records, the prosecution's case ultimately hinges on the testimony of one young woman, Shelby's friend, Victoria C.
When Victoria testified, she pretty much told the jury and everyone that she took Shelby back over to meet with EJ because Shelby was upset about her hair purchase and she wanted her money back. Victoria testified. I think she said she dropped her off and Shelby started to walk. So she then went to park the car. And by the time she got out of the car to go to where they were meeting at, she heard gunshots.
Defense attorneys circle back once more to eyewitness accounts. Careful to point out that Victoria is the only person who positively identifies Shelby as being at the scene of the murder.
All of the lay witnesses described seeing Victoria. They described her, what she was wearing, and then they described Edwina Thomas getting out of the car.
According to Shelby's defense, the woman witnesses described as wearing colorful leggings could have been anyone.
Victoria C. was out there. Edwina Thomas was out there. Shelby Isaac was never identified by any of those lay witnesses. How do they think that they can prove that she did this or that she was out there? Because no one, aside from Victoria C., put her there.
Shelby's attorneys continue to attempt to discredit the prosecution's evidence, one piece at a time.
None of the evidence pointed to Shelby. There was never any forensic DNA evidence. There was a fingerprint belonging to Shelby that was located on a receipt inside of Eddie Tate's car. But Victoria described at the initial meeting when Shelby actually did meet Eddie Tate at that McDonald's to purchase the hair, Victoria C. described Shelby sit down inside on the passenger side of Eddie Tate's vehicle, actually getting into the car with him, which is precisely where that piece of evidence was found. There was nothing about that fingerprint on that receipt that implicated Shelby in this shooting at all.
On November 17th, both sides make their closing arguments.
The investigator had said, follow the evidence. And I brought that back up in closing argument because if you follow the evidence, it does not lead you to Shelby. It leads you to Victoria C. It might lead you to Gary Dotson, but it does not lead you to Shelby.
On rebuttal, the prosecution disagrees.
Victoria didn't buy hair from Eddie. Shelby did. Gary Dotson didn't think he got bad hair. Shelby did. Nobody else had given their money to Eddie. Nobody else wanted their money back. It was Shelby's. She made the decision to pull that trigger multiple times. That's why we were here.
As closing arguments wrap up, neither side rests easy.
It was a very contentious trial, and a lot of people didn't think that we would get a conviction on it.
She took a life, and I said, I know it's not gonna bring my baby back, but I think she should give a life. I felt like out of all the hurt and pain I had suffered, I deserve a peace of mind to know that you are somewhere locked up and you won't hurt anybody else's child.
After 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returns their verdict in the murder trial of Shelby Isaac.
Of course, everybody's terrified, nervous, scared, anxious.
It was almost suffocating, like the air in the room. But you sit there, you stand up for the jury to come in, then the judge says, everybody be seated. And they ask, have you reached a verdict? The foreman says yes.
Ms. Isaac, please stand.
The trial jury in this case found her guilty of second-degree murder, which is a knowing killing of Eddie Tate. They found her guilty of reckless homicide in the count 3, which was related to Edwina Thomas. In the final count with the unborn baby, they found her guilty of criminally negligent homicide.
When they said guilty, it was like a sense of relief because we didn't know which way it was going to go.
The news hit Shelby hard.
When the word guilty came out of the foreperson's mouth, even before the charge had been read of what they found her guilty of, Shelby started collapsing.
Ms. Murphy, is that your verdict? Mr. Oliver, is that your verdict? Ms. Foster, is that your verdict?
Yes.
And is that your verdict, ma'am? Is that your verdict, ma'am? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict?
It was a hard moment for me, not just as an attorney, but as a person seeing this happen, when you have this girl literally passed out on the floor and all around the rest of the courtroom was business as usual. The judge didn't even stop polling the jury.
Her family was overcome with emotion. They started screaming and crying, and I've always thought the reality of just how serious this was and the consequences that she now faces finally set in with the reading of the verdict.
As to count 2 of the indictment, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder.
I'm sure she was overwhelmed. Your life is now impacted. You took lives, now you have to give a bit of yours.
The judge said your son was 30-year-old. So guess what, Miss Tate? We're going to take 30 years of her life, then we're going to give her 30 years. 30 years without parole.
I feel like 3 lives are worth more than 30 years. She took away a mom, a daughter, a sister, a best friend. Like, she took all of that away from us.
As time has gone on and I've grown, I feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for her because she made a decision that impacted so many people, including herself.
This was a very sad case where a man, a woman, and their unborn child lost their lives. And that is tragic. There is nothing that can make that tragedy any less. But I truly, truly hope that Shelby gets another day in court because the evidence was not there. I mean, I just care about her as a person. And I really tried to give her absolutely everything that I could.
Victoria C. avoids trial with a plea deal.
She was an aider and abetter. She was offered accessory after the fact, 3 counts of it. And then she pled guilty to that.
She is sentenced to 6 years probation. For the victims' families, no amount of justice can replace the loss of their loved ones.
Edwina was just a kind person. She didn't deserve what happened to her. She was loved. She was so loved by many people. And her life was just taken away too soon.
We got justice, but yet and still didn't bring my baby back. To bury your child and look down on your child being put in the ground is more than a mother can bear.
I miss her. I miss him. Like, me and EJ were close in the time that they were together. I miss him. I wanted to know if I was gonna have another niece or nephew. So it hurts, but we take it one day at a time.
Reality of it is, you learn to live. You learn to live, but you don't forget. You never forget.
They were able to bring him back a few times, but the damage was already done.
They couldn't fix his heart. This kid with the biggest heart in the world, you can't fix his heart.
Now imagine 30 people in the middle of the street. This wasn't just a fight, it was a brawl, a riot.
He has his cell phone up. It kicks on and starts recording, and it captures the ultimate moment.
The promise of social media fame can become an invigorating drug.
It empowers you, and you've not had power your whole life. She's become a local celebrity.
I woke up with 100,000 views. So then I started to build this whole image. It's like a gangster boo type, you know.
But maintaining that image comes at a cost.
It was like my clout with his clout. So it was like this big thing. But I started to see like red flags.
He was becoming more and more agitated.
I said, what the? I'm like, man, this cat is crazy. What does he own?
When you decide to prioritize your image over your values, you may end up risking it all.
She even wrote a song about the relationship of her being Bonnie and him being Clyde.
Some people, once they're out there, and it's too late to grab them back in to save them.
I remember praying, like, God, if this is meant for me to die, please let it be fast.
What happened to Bonnie? What happened to the ride or die person that you claim to be?
The gun comes out and he shoots.
I'm shaking so bad. And he's like, the devil told me to take this, so ha ha ha.
March 2nd, 2017. It's Thursday afternoon in the sprawling Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Dallas is a very vibrant city, full of cultural and ethnic diversity.
Dallas has always been larger than life.
But at 2:40 p.m., the hustle and bustle is pierced by the sound of gunshots.
This was in Oak Cliff, the southern end of town. That area is kind of known for being the higher crime half of the city.
A local shop owner was the first one to call 911.
He said after hearing the gunshots, he saw a young man lying in the streets, severely injured.
First responders race to the scene and find the victim unresponsive on the ground.
They do all they can to try to revive this young man.
They go to intervene to see if there's any life-sustaining treatments that they can do, but he's already deceased.
First responders locate the victim's driver's license and identify him as 19-year-old Drakeiston Alex. Drakeiston Alex had already touched many lives at a young age.
He was an awesome kid, full of life. This was never a dull moment with him, I swear. He's a good kid.
He was the clown of the bunch. He's very athletic. He loved flipping, jumping off of anything, buildings, houses, cars, it didn't matter.
Drakeiston's charming personality made him popular with the ladies.
They're like, oh, Dre, oh, Dre. They love him, though, because he's so funny.
Not only did he have his own one-year-old, but he had a child on the way.
He was a good father to those kids, too. He stepped in. He was a good dad, a crazy one, but he was good. He's a big kid himself.
As a soon-to-be father of two, Drakeiston was determined to provide a solid future for his kids.
He wanted to be a rapper, but, you know, he was an athlete.
He always wanted to be like a football player, basketball player.
If he wanted to do something, he was going to do it. Like, he would never be told no, that you can't do it. Yes, the sky is the limit.
But now, Drake Easton Alex lies dead in the middle of a city street, gunned down in broad daylight.
So detectives get to the scene and they begin looking for evidence in the crime.
I was the lead detective on this case. You just show up and we kind of figure it out as we go.
They determined that Drake Easton was wounded in his hip, which severed a major artery, and that's what ultimately caused his death.
There were some spent casings. Those were .380 casings.
Detectives turn to the witnesses at the scene, hoping they can provide more information about what happened.
Unfortunately, the witnesses didn't see the whole thing. They only saw the aftermath.
They heard the shots, came out to see what was going on, and found him lying on the ground in a pool of blood.
However, the shop owner who made the initial 911 call has some good news for detectives.
He tells them there's a security camera on the outside of his shop that very well could have captured the full crime.
It was pointing in the direction that witnesses described the event happening.
When detectives get their hands on the footage, it's just what they're hoping for.
The footage doesn't appear to be high quality, but it does capture the murder.
The video begins with Drake Easton casually walking through the parking lot.
He's just walking through the parking lot and then starts walking across the street.
He's moving in one direction, and he turns his head as if someone has called out to him.
That's when another man enters the frame.
It appears that the communications between the two were developing into a more of aggressive conversation based on the body language of the two individuals.
Like he's kind of in the middle of the street and kind of keeps backing up, and trying to walk off.
That's when the other man pulls out a gun.
The gun comes out and he shoots.
At that point, Drake Easton takes off running, and he's got a limp.
You can see him point and shoot as Alex is running just out of frame where he collapses and dies.
It's soon clear the shooter wasn't working alone.
The shooter essentially is seen turning and running towards the PT Cruiser.
The passenger door swings open, and the shooter jumps into the car, and this PT Cruiser speeds away.
Detectives now know that they have multiple suspects to look for before they can solve this crime.
On March 2nd, 2017, Dallas homicide detectives are trying to solve the tragic murder of 19-year-old Drake Easton Alex.
I got a phone call and said, your son has been shot. Then I'm heart just pounding, and I'm crying, and I'm outraged.
She was just screaming, can't breathe. I said, what's going on? Drake just got killed. She's like, what? It was crazy.
Fortunately, detectives are one step closer to locating the suspected killers after reviewing surveillance footage of the incident.
They could get a general description of their suspect. He appeared to be a black man, about 5'8" and 140 pounds.
They've also determined that he had an accomplice. After the shooting, he ran and jumped into a PT Cruiser that then sped away from the scene.
The footage is too grainy to make out the vehicle's license plate number, so investigators quickly circulate screenshots of the car online.
We can immediately put something on the blog and on Facebook, and it takes off.
Almost immediately, they begin receiving calls to their tip line.
The police get a call from someone who identified the driver as an Ashley Coleman.
When the police pulled Ashley's DMV records, they were able to determine that she was the owner of a PT Cruiser.
As patrol officers begin scouring the city for Ashley and her PT Cruiser, detectives begin looking into their new suspect. 27-year-old Ashley Coleman was no stranger to hardship.
Well, my childhood coming up it was hard. It was 4 of us, and my mom, she worked, but, she was a single mother. I was a victim of sexual abuse. I encountered it a few times coming up.
I think anytime that someone places you in a scenario that steals your innocence, it's something that you carry with you for the rest of your life.
It affected my self-esteem in a major way. I always felt like I wasn't pretty enough, or I was too dark, or maybe it's my gap, or maybe it's because I didn't have a lot.
As a teen, Ashley began to act out.
I was in juvenile from 15 to 18, so I didn't experience adolescence. I started to express myself with music. The things that I couldn't talk about, I wrote about. And then one day I began to write and talk it instead of singing it.
She continued to write poetry, which ultimately turned into her wanting to become a rapper.
Eventually, Ashley worked up the courage to share her music online. But her positive messaging largely fell on deaf ears.
I was doing motivational music, but nobody wants to hear motivational music. I noticed I would get 200 views or 300 views.
She ended up having beef with another local rapper who was trying to tear Ashley down. But Ashley wrote a song about her.
Nobody's excited about anything positive. Most people aren't, not from where I'm from. And so I changed a lot of who I was and a lot of what I was doing to make it fit.
The change in direction got her noticed almost instantly.
I woke up with 100,000 views, maybe I should just go for it. And that's what I started to do. So then I started to build this whole image, just like a gangsta boo type.
Ashley's music became so popular that venues began booking her to perform live.
I was starting to get a buzz in my city.
Based off of this kind of new persona that she's developed, she's doing shows now throughout Dallas. Ashley was getting all this notoriety. She's become a local celebrity.
And it was at one of her local performances that Ashley met someone who would change her life forever.
I'm doing this one party, and this guy, who's in the crowd, I glanced at him, and I thought passed, he's fine,
And this young man starts throwing money at her in the stage.
So I'm okay, they feeling the song. I'm rocking with it.
Back at home after her set, Ashley noticed a DM from her handsome admirer, Hakeem Griffin White.
He's like, dang, I've been trying to get at you for so long, and then I throw a little money and you finally and hit me back.
Ashley agreed to meet up with Hakeem for a date, and the rest was history.
That is kind of where things grow and develop in their connection.
He began to take me to do all these things that I missed out on, like go-karting, movies. We would go watch the airplanes take off, ponds to feed the ducks.
Before long, Ashley and Hakeem became one of the new power couples in Dallas's hip-hop scene.
Every party we would go to, he was popular, so everybody knew him, and it was my clout with his clout, so it was this big thing.
Is Hakeem Griffin White the young man from the surveillance video that gunned down Drakeiston Alex?
He matched the description of the individual detectives have been looking for. Police are shocked to discover that he's only 17, 10 years younger than Ashley.
Soon, investigators receive a bombshell piece of evidence that solidifies their theory.
Ashley and Hakeem are flaunting guns on Facebook and are talking about going to shoot someone.
I say, what the? I'm like, man, this cat is crazy. What is he on? Put the guns down. If you gotta shoot or kill somebody, you don't need them. If you gotta put an image out just to get some friends, you don't need them. Everybody wants this bad image until it's time to go meet the judge. That's when they want to cry for their mamas and stuff. You wasn't crying when you was out there doing the crime, so don't cry now, you know? You do stuff like that, you go kill somebody, just put the shoe on the other foot, we're right if it was you.
In March of 2017, Dallas investigators suspect Ashley Coleman and her boyfriend, Hakeem Griffin White, are behind the murder of 19-year-old Drakeiston Alex.
They confirm that Ashley owns the same type of vehicle that was spotted fleeing from the crime scene. And Hakeem is a match for the description of the shooter.
Their theory is soon bolstered by an unexpected piece of evidence. A video posted on Facebook Live shows Ashley and Hakeem boasting about a life of crime.
The video had been recorded just a few hours before the shooting.
The two of them are loading weapons. They were talking about wanting to murder or harm someone.
That's how I do things, bro. I sit the bullets down to this one on the side, bro. I said the bullet, look, I really need, you see, I don't want to touch, so I really need to, you hear me? Man, that one, y'all. See, I'm put that way in the last time.
The video was like he in a rage and, oh yeah, and you flicking a gun.
I told myself, if I go back to this off for life, look, real talk, bro.
The gun Hakeem has in the video is a .380, the same caliber as the casings found at the murder scene.
Detectives are convinced the person Hakeem is threatening in the video is Drakeiston. It's a hard pill to swallow for Drakeiston's family.
Hakeem was a friend of his, but was a young guy that in my house I fed, slept, clothed, you know, so that hurt me even more.
Hakeem and Drakeiston essentially grew up together, but they hadn't been close in a while.
I had just seen him walking and I was talking to him and, you know, telling him how much I missed them and, you know, keep your head up, stay out of trouble.
I say, what the? I'm like, man, this cat is crazy. What is he on? I don't know if they was on drugs or what, but I still can't figure out why would they do that to my nephew.
Investigators fear that if they don't find Ashley and Hakeem soon, there could be more victims.
We had covert units that were going out trying to find them at these different locations.
They're surveilling all known addresses.
On March 3rd, police finally get a hit on the couple's whereabouts.
The police find the PT Cruiser in front of one of the addresses.
Investigators want to make sure the suspects are in the house before they make a move.
They stake out the residence, waiting for Ashley or Hakeem to make an appearance.
But as they lay in wait, another vehicle pulls up. It's a large U-Haul truck.
A driver gets out of the U-Haul and goes into the house.
That's when police spot Ashley Coleman.
She and the U-Haul driver began loading things into the truck.
Investigators suspect that this means Ashley and Hakeem are planning on making a run for it.
We knew that they were planning on going somewhere because they loaded up a U-Haul.
When Ashley and the U-Haul driver are finished, investigators trail them as they drive off.
Ashley drives separately from the U-Haul.
The police begin to follow the vehicles, the PT Cruiser in front of the U-Haul and the police behind.
It's pretty easy to follow a U-Haul and not lose a U-Haul.
Ashley and the PT Cruiser are a different story.
Or we lose the PT Cruiser.
With Ashley now in the wind, police hit their sirens and pull over the U-Haul for further investigation.
So we get the U-Haul and it ends up being this homeless guy.
He appears to be confused as to what's going on.
According to the homeless man, he had just met Ashley and her boyfriend earlier that day.
They're like, hey, will you help us move? We'll pay you, feed you, whatever.
Thinking nothing of it, this homeless man agreed to help them with their move. He had no idea they were suspects in a murder case.
After arranging for the U-Haul and its contents to be transported back to police headquarters, investigators continue surveillance on Ashley's address.
They're hoping that Ashley or Hakeem will return before they flee the area.
Around 4 p.m., they're in luck.
They see a white car pull up to the house.
Ashley gets out and goes into the house. When she comes outside, she gets back into the white car and they drove off.
This time, police move in quickly.
They hit their siren and instructed the vehicle to pull over.
The driver of the vehicle follows police orders, but Ashley has other ideas.
When the police attempt to stop the vehicle, Ashley jumps out of the car.
She takes off running, and now police are at risk of losing her for a second time.
On March 3rd, 2017, Dallas police finally have their murder suspect, Ashley Coleman, in their crosshairs.
The police lost her once in her PT Cruiser, but then saw her again getting into a white sedan.
When the police attempt to stop the vehicle, Ashley jumps out of the car and runs away, evading the police officers again.
She just kind of disappeared.
To investigators' dismay, the driver of the white sedan seems clueless.
So similarly to the experience of the U-Haul driver, this driver of the white car had no information about what was going on.
He too met Ashley for the first time that day, just after she evaded the police the first time.
He's like, I don't know, this lady just flagged me down and said she needed help. So like I was trying to do the Good Samaritan thing. She said, I need a ride. My car broke down.
The driver of the white car was able to give the detectives the location of the PT Cruiser.
As Ashley and Hakeem continue to evade police, they remain active on social media.
Hakeem and Ashley decide to take to social media in an attempt to defend themselves from the allegations surrounding this murder.
They're denying the murder, any involvement with this shooting. She didn't shoot anybody. It's all her rap persona. It's all related to this character that she built, and it's not who she is at all.
The drama behind Drakeiston Alex's murder grows Ashley's already substantial online following.
It definitely quadrupled her social media following overnight. Now the whole city's heard of her. But everybody starts forming their opinion.
Thanks to the couple's unwillingness to lay low, investigators stay hot on their trail.
Some of our covert guys, this is their full-time job, right? It's just kind of staying under the radar and just kind of figuring out where people are going. And they ended up finding them at this motel.
This time, police move in right away.
So I'm sitting in a hotel. I'm asleep, actually. I had took like 6 Seroquels because I was on those medications at the time for depression. So when they came, I couldn't even move how I wanted to.
She was so out of it, she didn't even have the wherewithal or knowledge to be able to articulate anything as she was being arrested.
The arrests are welcome news to Drake Easton's grieving family.
God is good. I just say God is good, you know? So we ain't got to worry about nobody else's family getting hurt.
It didn't ease my pain by them catching them, but it made me feel good that you're not out and to do it to anyone else.
Due to Ashley's concerning mental state, she's sent to the hospital for evaluation while police transport Hakeem back to the station.
When they first started to interrogate him, he denied any involvement in the Alex murder.
You know, he lied for a while. I don't remember it being a real long denial. And then he was generally just more helpful.
Hakeem admits that he'd known Drake Easton Alex ever since childhood, but their relationship became rocky a few years prior.
He just had this ongoing beef with him over just rumors.
I cannot tell you what happened. I know probably 2 years to 3 years back, they did have a little fight.
They just haven't gotten along since.
When asked about his girlfriend's involvement, Hakeem downplays Ashley's part in the crime.
He was saying that, you know, Ashley had no idea that any of this was going to happen. But obviously you're doing this video where you're talking about killing other people, and then you immediately turn around and go kill somebody.
Once Ashley is released from the hospital, detectives bring her in for questioning.
To their surprise, she doesn't have anything good to say about her boyfriend, Hakeem.
According to Ashley, the honeymoon stage in her relationship with Hakeem didn't last long.
I started to see like red flags. He lied about his age for one. He told me he was getting ready to be 19, when really he was 17.
She's 27, he's 17. That's a 10-year difference.
As time went on, the red flags became more and more bold.
Ashley says the week before the murder, Hakeem got into an altercation with another one of his friends.
He tells me, take me up here so I can talk to him. I'm like, okay, you know, they're friends. They're just going to talk to him.
Ashley says when they arrived to meet up with Hakeem's friend, the conversation immediately became heated.
They exchanged words, but it seemed like his friend is trying to work it out when really Hakeem is like on 10. And so I'm like, well, Hakeem, just get back in the car. And before I could really get like my whole sentence out, he's shooting. I was scared. I was like, that's your friend. What are you doing? So he jumps in the car and he's like, follow him. I'm like, no, you know. So he slaps me for not following him. That actually was the first time that I noticed that he was being abusive.
Ashley tells detectives that night was only the beginning of the hell she'd endure at the hands of her man.
I closed my eyes and I remember praying, like, God, if this is meant for me to die, please let it be fast.
On March 5th, 2017, Dallas homicide detectives are questioning 27-year-old Ashley Coleman, a suspected accomplice in the murder of 19-year-old Drake Easton Alex. But according to Ashley, she too has been a victim of the alleged shooter, Hakeem Griffin White.
Ashley tells detectives that she and Hakeem were involved in an abusive relationship. She became very afraid of Hakeem because of his volatile nature.
Ashley says eventually she decided enough was enough and tried to break things off with Hakeem.
Me and him's in the car, and I'm kind of like at the point where I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm slacking on my music, and, you know, I just can't do it.
But Hakeem wasn't having it.
He flipped out, you know, get in my face, and he headbutted me. I had never been headbutted before, and it hurts. He broke my nose. He just went crazy. He just started hitting me, fighting me, and knocked out a tooth at the back, and busted my lip, and pulled my hair out.
Ashley tells detectives after that, Hakeem suddenly hit the gas.
He's driving, we're on this back road, and he's going like 100 miles an hour in this PC Cruiser, passing through these four-way stop signs. I just put on my seatbelt, and I closed my eyes, and I remember praying, like, God, if this is meant for me to die, please let it be fast.
Seconds later, Hakeem veered off the road.
I'm screaming. So he veered off, and we go into the grass, and the car cuts off. So that was God saying, get out the car.
But at that point, Ashley felt trapped.
There's research that supports that. It literally is life or death. The most dangerous time for an individual in domestic violence is when they're leaving.
It was like I was doomed if I did, if I didn't.
So she's got her identity of the physical abuse that's happening between the relationship and her and Hakeem. And then she's got this other persona where she's a badass female rapper that she's trying to continue to propagate for her artistry.
Ashley says the following day, Hakeem brought both her worlds crashing down.
So I go in the house and he's making this video. He's on there like showing all these bullets on camera, saying like, yeah, this is what's going on and this is what I'm gonna do.
Ashley admits she joined in on the video recording.
So I'm like, yeah, such. I'm trash talking. I mean, I have this gangsta boo type of thing going on, and I'm already rap beefing with such and such and such and such, so I'm just trying to make it real.
According to Ashley, after they were done recording the video, they left to head to her sister's house.
I'm driving on the freeway, and I get off and I pull up on Bunny View.
They just happened to see Drake Houston in the parking lot, and Hakeem tells Ashley to pull over.
Ashley was on the phone with her mom at the time.
She's like, I just had a dream. You need to leave that boy alone. It's either you going to jail or you going to be dead.
Ashley says it was then that she noticed what was happening outside of the car.
I heard this guy saying, please, King, please. So I'm like, Mom, I'm going to call you back. Hakeem, he has this gun up in broad daylight, and Drake Houston has his hands up. This had something to do from something that he felt like he wronged him a year ago, before I even came into his life. I'm like, Hakeem, he's not paying me any attention. He looks at me, but then he looks forward again.
Ashley tells detectives that she's watching in horror as Hakeem shoots Drake Houston.
He shoots. And he runs back and he jumps in the car and he tells me to drive. And I'm like, Hakeem, what did you do? I'm shaking so bad. And he's like, the devil told me to take it, so ha ha ha, and start laughing. Like this evil laugh. The gun was still smoking, literally.
However, Ashley claims she didn't realize Drake Houston's injuries were fatal at the time.
Before I drove off, he looked me in my eyes. And I looked at him, I was just scared. I could tell he was scared. That look hunted me for so long.
Following the incident, Ashley says she dropped Hakeem off and then she went back home, still shaken up.
I go back to the house and I go to sleep because I'm exhausted. He's been taking me through.
But the next day, she was awakened by a torrent of social media alerts.
The whole city was talking about her. She and Hakeem were wanted for murder.
My phone is pinging, bing, 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 bing. I'm viral.
It's because this whole case almost played itself out on social media. Sometimes when you put it out on that global scale, you don't know who is going to react to it in the way that they're going to react to it. And now everybody knows. Just know that there's a consequence to everything that you put out there into social media. And once you ring that bell, You can't unring it.
March 5th, 2017. Detectives in Dallas, Texas are questioning Ashley Coleman about the shooting death of 19-year-old Drakeiston Alex at the hands of Ashley's boyfriend, Hakeem Griffin White.
Ashley claims that she had no idea that he was going to open fire, and after she drove him from the crime scene, she claimed that she had no idea that he was dead.
The next morning, Ashley says she awoke to a flurry of notifications on her social media.
My phone is pinging, bing, 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 bing. I'm like, oh, something went viral on my page again because the things have been going viral. Well, it's not nothing viral, I'm viral. There's all these people tagging me in the police because they seen my picture, they knew who I was, because I was Facebook famous because of the music.
When asked why she hadn't turned herself in, Ashley tells detectives that she was scared.
I was confused on where to go, how to play it. We go to friends, and he was so paranoid. And he's like, let me kill her and take her car, the girl who was helping. I'm like, why do you want to do that? And no, you've done enough. Like, this is ridiculous at this point.
However, detectives don't believe Ashley is being entirely honest with them.
She's trying to manipulate me. She's trying to get out of going to jail by saying that she's pregnant. She was not pregnant. The hospital is like, no, she's no signs that she's ever been pregnant. It's on her social media that she's putting out this video of them loading up the guns. She's actively like trying to throw us off by finding all these other cars. She's constantly asking people for help under some false pretense.
At the end of the day, both Ashley and Hakeem were charged with murder.
Ashley decides to plead guilty to the charges in exchange for a 19-year sentence.
I didn't go to trial, I just took a plea deal because I was scared, I didn't know my rights. So I really kind of got railroaded. I should have fought, but I didn't understand it or the system.
However, Hakeem Griffin White decides to take his chances in court.
The defense isn't saying that this wasn't Hakeem who was in the videos and committed this crime. They are simply trying to persuade the jury to convict on the basis of manslaughter instead of murder.
If he's convicted of manslaughter, he is facing a 20-year sentence versus a potential life sentence if he's convicted of murder.
He had his head down the whole time. You couldn't even look me in my eyes. You couldn't even get up on the stand to at least tell me to my face that you were sorry. I'm not just anybody. You know me. You know who I am. For you not to even tell me that you were sorry hurt me the most.
Based on the surveillance video that literally caught Hakeem in the act, along with his recorded confession to police about his involvement, it doesn't take the jury long to come to a decision.
Hakeem is found guilty of murder and sentenced to 75 years in prison.
They view Hakeem as an individual who intended to harm and intended to shoot, to kill.
The verdict is bittersweet for Drakeiston's still grieving family.
Emotions was everywhere. Yes, you getting sentenced was a great feeling, but it still didn't solve anything. I mean, I still feel the same way I feel. It didn't bring my son back.
What we are going through, this is a daily thing. A lot of people try to tell my sister, oh, it get easy, it get easy. It don't. His smile, I miss his smile. And him, period. That was my nephew, you know.
My son was a kid. He was lovable. He was outgoing. He didn't deserve to die. So as long as I'm living, I'm gonna keep my son's name alive.
Ashley Coleman is now challenging her conviction.
Ashley is currently trying to seek a pardon, claiming that she was a victim of domestic violence.
At the end of the day, you always have a choice. It may feel like you do not, but that's normally just because the choice you have to make is so difficult. Choosing for yourself how you want to show up, how you want to receive love, how you want to experience life can make such a fundamental difference of where you go in the world.
I actually wrote a piece that I wanted to say before we ran out of time. It's kind of a warning. I sit in prison because of a guy's weakness, abuse, and fear. We are not puppets for men. We are not their vessels to manipulate. Every woman that has been manipulated into believing that hurt is love, I'm fighting for my freedom and yours too. One finger can't move a pebble, but one hand can move the world.
If you and your man find social media fame together, it might feel like an exciting ride. But love isn't a ride, it's a journey. And when passion clouds judgment, causing us to lose sight of where we're going.
The body's trying very hard, it's working overdrive.